Hello everybody, welcome to another Training Tuesday. This is Brett with ChamSys, of course. I hope everybody's doing well and having a good start to their week. Today we got a quick one. We got I don't want to say easy, but a pretty easy one, where we're just going to talk about cleaning up show files. If you've been using a show file for a long time, if you're a nightclub or if you're touring, chances are you are bloating your show file or loading your show file with a lot of stuff, and you keep on getting stuff in there and it just keeps on growing and growing. So what can we do to kind of slim it down a little bit, make it a little bit easier to work with and not so much stuff? So we're going to look at a couple different windows and a couple different things. So let's start by the first thing I would look at, kind of as far as your console goes, not a specific show file, but file manager. Take a look in your file manager and look just to see, do you have lots of shows in here? I have a lot of shows, mainly because I'm in support and I'm always getting other people's show files and opening things and closing things. But I probably don't need all of these in here these days. I can probably go through and get rid of some of these. Some of the things you can do. So I can always come in here and find a show file such as these or something. Of course, you know you have a show file and a backup file for each show that you have. And I can just remove them. I can just highlight them and say remove. If I hit it again, it's going to ask me if I want to get rid of them. Sure. And they're gone. If I want to get rid of just one, then I can just click on remove and tap on the one file, and it's going to ask me, it's going to confirm, and I can get rid of that. So that's show files. This is also we are in simple view right now. So a lot of times it's easier in a lot of our views. You can toggle between simple view and advanced view. Putting things into advanced view and then sorting them by date rather than by name is helpful. That way I can scroll down to the bottom here and I can say, do I need show files from last September? If it's my console, do I need to keep on adding show files here, or can I just go through and, in this case, I can just highlight whatever I want and get rid of them. You do have to be aware this also includes things like MIDI tables and SET files are probably going to be in here as well, like this one here, a .SET file. So there's other files in here that you just got to be aware of. So this will tell you what the type is of the show file. So that's for your console, if you need to kind of clean up a console. Now, if I'm in a specific show, for example, here I'm in this show file that I had made based off of our demo show file. So our normal demo show file is called Showfile Demo 2024. I was working on some specific things and working on some stuff, so I made this just to give it a different name, Showfile Demo 2025. So it's mainly the same show as our demo show file. There's a bunch of stuff in here. We've got some playbacks already created. I created a couple other pages with playbacks on them. So there's just stuff. The easiest way to kind of go through things, the biggest places that you're going to start adding stuff is going to be mostly your stack store and your queue store, because every time you write something, it's going to record it into either both your stack store and your queue store. So a lot of times you'll end up with windows like this. This is actually pretty small. There's not a lot of stuff in here. Oftentimes we find ourselves easily into the hundreds or even 1,000 queues or something like that. So this isn't so bad. But you can manually go in. If I don't name things, we always tell people to name their stuff. If you don't name something, then you're just going to get a lot of this stuff that you don't know what it is. So now you kind of got to go through it and turn things on and turn things off and see what they do. If they don't have intensity, you might not know what this is. You might have to view the queue, kind of see what's in there, turn things on, But if you don't need it, you can always just remove it. I can say remove, tap here, and try and get rid of it. Now, if it's being used somewhere else, because the queue store is the umbrella over the stack store, it's going to tell me this queue is used in stack 59. So I would have to go to my stack store first and find 59 which is right here. And I would have to get rid of that first. And now I can't because it's used on page 2 of playback 9. So I would need to go to page 2 here and go to playback 9 and get rid of this. So you can see how everything is kind of tied together. If I get rid of this, then I can get rid of this. And if I get rid of this, I can go back to the Q store and I can get rid of that. Without doing it in that order, it's not going to allow me to get rid of everything. Now, to make that a little bit easier, in each of our windows, we do have a remove unused button. This is going to cull or get rid of a lot of stuff. If it's not assigned to a playback, if it's not assigned somewhere on the console, then it's just going to get rid of it. So I'll start with the Q store, say remove unused, yes. It's not going to get rid of a lot of stuff, I think, because I have to go to my stack store first, actually. Let's try that first. Remove unused. Yeah, I got rid of some stuff there. Now if I go to my Q store, it got rid of more stuff there because the stacks that were controlling those got removed. So you can see I'm starting to clean stuff up. I still have a lot of stuff here that doesn't have information, so I'm still going to have to go through these and kind of find out what they are. Always remember that when you click on an item, it will tell you where it's being used. So this is being used in QStack 35, Q1. So if I go look at QStack 35, this is Q 55. If I go look at QStack 35, it's this one here. So in theory, I could get rid of this. Oh, it's active. Sorry, that's my bad. Oh, I got to find out what grid it's on because now it's connected to a execute grid item. So again, you can kind of see how everything is connected here. The console will tell you if you're not allowed to get rid of something and why you're not allowed to get rid of it. So you can always hunt down and find out where things are, where the bottleneck is, like why something is not allowing you to get rid of it or something like that. If I wanted to get rid of that last one, where was it? It was execute grid 3, item 37. So I would need to open up my execute grid, go to page 3, and then item 37 is probably going to be somewhere. That's 18, 45, 40, 38, 37. So it's this one right here. I'm not going to get rid of it just because I don't want to destroy this entire show file, although I probably could. It's not that big of a deal. Always remember also, if you make a mistake, like say I didn't want to do that, usually I should be able to use undo and I can bring things back. That is also true for the stack store and the Q store. When you use remove unused, it will bring them back if you made a mistake and didn't mean to do that, or you realized you just got rid of a whole bunch of Qs you didn't really want to. So I can always get rid of that, go back to my stack store. I might be able to get rid of this now. Yeah. And then go to my Q store. I think it was here, 55. I can probably remove this now. To automate this a little bit more, there is some settings that you can deal with. So if you go to, the setup window, settings window, and go to Q storage, these first two settings here, remove queues when remove Q stack. So this is going to automate what we did. When I remove the Q stack, any queues that are related to that Q stack will automatically get removed. So this option allows you to force queues to be removed when the Q stack that uses them are removed. By default, this is set to no. So if this is something that you're going to find yourself doing often, you might want to set these to yes, and then that way you don't have to go through. I like to be very careful about my show files, so I don't want to delete things that I don't mean to delete. I'm very careful. I even have to be very scared and careful just to delete something that I know I want to delete. I'm always kind of, double checking and making sure. So, whether you use this or not is up to you. I would leave this as no myself, but you could always say yes. You can also remove palettes as well. So say we cleaned up our Q store, we cleaned up our stack store and our Q store, we feel good about that. You could always remember, move these things around. You do have to be cognizant of whether you are using QStack macros and things like that, or other general macros, because you might be triggering something that's in a specific item. So if this is in Q108, make sure that you're not, well, you can't really use QStack macros for the Q store, but for the stack store, you can trigger items directly from the stack store. So again, I have that same look, same one as I was looking at in the Q store just a second ago, this moon look. If I wanted to use this in another queue, if I was triggering it down here on playback 8 and saying go QStack 64, whatever, if I move this to fill in, say, this gap here, then this is going to be a different number, of course, and I got to be cognizant of that. So even though you've cleaned up your stack store, be careful about my next thought process would be I would want to take some of these and move them around and kind of close up these gaps and make everything a little more succinct. But you want to be careful if you're going to do that. This shouldn't do anything because I think we've already removed all of our unused. Yeah, so we're good there. So if the stack store and the Q store are done, you can also remove unused in your palette windows. So in, for example, the position window here, you'll notice there's a remove unused button that just doesn't go away. It's in all the palette windows. So no matter which one I click on, except for group, we'll talk about group in a moment. In position, beam, and color, probably in intensity as well. I haven't confirmed that, but yeah, it's there. There is remove unused here. So if I activate this window and then say remove unused, let's see what goes away. A lot. For these demo show files, we don't use a lot of these first 7 or 8 or 9 palettes, position palettes and stuff. So those go away. If I undo it, it should come back. You'll notice some of these went down. These went away down here as well. Some of these also. You'll notice that one didn't go away, moon, mainly because I have it here in the Q store, it's in the stack store, and it's also on a playback somewhere here, right there. If we do it with color, it's probably going to get rid of a majority of these colors down here because these are the colors that we include with Chauvet fixtures. They're more theatrical style colors. The general colors that you'll always get are going to be this, white to magenta, these first 10 colors. These are going to be built into every single palette that we create always. I'm sorry, not palette, but every profile, every fixture personality we create is going to have these 10, no matter what. Beyond that is either going to be on you to add those palettes into the profile, or if we were given some direction, or if we added those palettes, they have to be manually added in, is my point. So in the color window, if I say remove unused, yeah. So I must have used this medium yellow in something. Otherwise, it looks like everything else went away, except for maybe my soft palettes, because I use those also. And then beam. Let's just see what goes away here. Just curious. Probably a lot of these gobo things and a lot of other stuff. Of course, the narrow, medium, the zooms stay in there. The shutter probably. Other than that, yeah, it looks like we don't use a lot in this show file. What's that one there? Now, if I slow rotation, a prism slow rotation. Now, if I undo it again, it comes back. One thing about this I like to mention is in the patch window, you always remember you have auto palette, and by default auto palette is set to on. The problem with that can be if you are morphing fixtures, if you're touring or you're getting lots of different fixtures where you find yourself cloning or morphing a lot. Every single time you do that, it's bringing in more and more and more palettes for that fixture. It's going to add color palettes. Mainly, it's going to add gobos for every time you put in a spot fixture. It's going to add in a couple, maybe the same position palettes, honestly. these ones up here, the in, out, left, right, the ones that no one really ever uses anyway, it's going to create those again every time you patch something in. So I would kind of recommend, or just keep it in the back of your head, you might want to turn off auto palettes, or you might want to say, you know what, I only want color palettes. And then that way you can kind of pick and choose. I would just turn them off, honestly. And then that way you can kind of pick and choose what you want to create. If I patch in a new fixture now, a new profile, it's not going to create any palettes for me. And then I would have to kind of create the new palettes that I want. If you're using group queues, it could be good thing. I, you the biggest thing that you want to remember is if you're using soft palettes and group queues, that your palettes have to match between fixture types. So you're going to have to build new you're going to have to build new position palettes anyway, probably. That's why I mentioned I probably would leave these and let these get automatically patched in. I would leave my color auto palettes turned on. That way I'll get my white to magenta every time. And if I'm using a show file that has soft palettes in it, usually the soft palettes we're using are white to magenta. There might be other people out there in the theater world or other worlds that are kind of using other colors, or tertiary colors and offsets of blue and 3 different shades of blue or something like that. But for most of us, the majority of us, we're just using white to magenta, the 10 colors. So if you auto create those palettes, your soft palettes should be on their way to being auto done, and you don't have to do much to redo your show file when you patch in new fixtures. You might have to pick the new fixture, say this Roby fixture is a new one I pick, and I might have to come in here and assign it to my soft palette, because you can see these are not active. So I may have to locate that fixture and then record it to my soft palette, so that way my soft palettes travel through all the rest of my programming and stuff. You'll see here, if I clear this out now, and then I pick that fixture again and I scroll down, that one now is updated. Okay. Those are in all of the categories, the remove unused for all the palette entries that you want to put it into if you want to. We talked about the setting. You might want to consider whether you want to use this remove stacks on remove playback. So it follows the same kind of flow where you had to get rid of the Q stack first, then the Q, or the playback first, and then the Q stack, and then the Q. Same thing here. This is just saying if I remove the Q stack, it's automatic. Or when I remove a playback, if I delete this moon playback, for example, it's automatically going to get rid of that for me. Okay. That is there. You can also, we do have an option now for removing old heads. Also, if you wanted to clean up head files, so if you go into the file manager, and I believe if you hold shift, we have a remove heads here. It's going to remove any old heads. So if you have updated your heads.all file recently, this will get rid of any old heads. It extracts the new heads from heads.all again. And then any user created head files, it's going to delete those as well. So if you have any user created head files that you've edited or modified or renamed or anything like that, it's going to get rid of those. So if you use this, you might want to consider putting any heads, which you should already have, just to put it in the back of your head. You should have a USB stick with any modified or any custom head files that you have. You got to realize that those head files are not going to be part of any library if you go to another ChamSys. So if you're traveling around at all, or you just happen to go to another computer, another ChamSys, and it has the quote normal heads folder in there, your custom heads are not going to be there, of course. So you probably want those heads on a USB anyway. But if you use this method here, just be aware that you are going to get rid of those. So there's that as well. And then group queues. If you're using group queues, so always remember, group queues is an option. You're going to turn it on and turn it off yourself, so you would know if you were using group queues or not. But if you're using group queues, you can remove unused group queues and group effects from your queues in your show. In the queue store, not the stack store this time, but in the queue store, if you, again, all good things are under shift. So if you hold shift, remove unused group queues right here in the corner. Okay. Group effects and group levels that are referenced or that reference invalid groups are going to be removed from the queues windows. It only removes levels and effects. Just remember that. It doesn't remove the queue itself, just the levels and the effects, so the intensities or the effect itself. The queue could, if that's all that was in the queue, was say an effect, then the queue is going to be empty. It's still going to be there, but it's going to be empty. And then to remove the unused queue itself, you would want to go to the queue store and then press remove unused within the queue store itself. Let's turn on that setting real quick. I'm just curious to say, if I say yes on this and then get rid of this moon one, because we do have it in the stack store, we have it here, and in the queue store, we have it right here. So if I get rid of this, remove, yes, it's still here in the queue store, but in the stack store, it is gone. So now in the queue store, I could say remove unused, and it shouldn't give me any issue. Nope, because it was already gone out of the stack store. Now, if I wanted to, if I made a mistake, I can oops that. It comes back here, if you notice. Let's see if it comes back. So it doesn't come back to my queue store. Let's see if it's in the stack store. It's back in my stack store, though. So I can always copy it if I wanted to back into my queue store. If I copy not allowed. Well, I can always just make a copy here. If I copy this here. As long as they are not linked, which it doesn't look like they are. So that should have created me another moon queue. Oh, you know what? It might have put it somewhere up here. Let's see if playback 3, Q stack 9. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so it did put it back up here. It put it in a different location because I had some open queues. It's going to fill those open queues first. That is another setting that you can change, whether you want it to fill open queues or not, open stacks. Like fill in, the next one would go here, the next one would go here, and then down here, and then down the line. You can, that's an option you can choose. I believe that's about it. For cleaning up your show file. Not that hard, just some details to go over, just like anything else. Yeah, it's just about being organized. If you're using group queues, and well, one thing I will mention is the groups. I didn't mention that yet. Removing groups. If you're using group queues, removing groups can be helpful because group queues is going to be all group based by definition, of course, right? So if I start building too many groups here and I don't realize what groups I need to replace with what other groups for group queues, this could get very messy quickly. So once again, here, if I am in the group window and I hold shift, I should get a remove unused button. That's not here when you don't hold shift, so it's not here. But if I hold shift, I get remove unused. Yes. And there you could see it got rid of a lot. Um, this is pretty much the only groups that I'm using, yeah. So in this current show file, these are the groups that are being used. Looks about right. I think I'm missing one fixture that I would have expected to see. This one here, although, oh, interesting. See, that's not working anymore. So the queue itself is probably gone, and um, that's why the group got taken away. Again, if you're using group queues, this can be a powerful thing, I think, just because you have to really be careful with group queues about what groups you're taking and what groups are the donor group and what group is you're recording into. So you have to kind of be very organized with group queue stuff. So doing this every now and again might be good. Also realize I can make lots of groups based on these off of these. I can make linked groups and things like that. So again, group queues, just organization. You just got to think about how you're laying your stuff out. And the less muck, the less stuff you have in your show file to muck it up and things like that is always going to make it a little bit easier for you to figure that stuff out. Thanks everybody for joining today. I know it was a bit of a quick one, about a half an hour or so, about right on time. Next week, I believe we're going to do something on Media Master. I think we're going to talk about Media Master integration now that we have a stable version out. We're going to start pushing some Media Master stuff and talking to you guys about that and how well it can be included with MagicQ. So appreciate your attention today, as always. I hope everybody has a good rest of their week. We'll catch you on another Training Tuesday, and happy programming.